Um, Another thing that's changed is our group implementation. Many of you have noticed that, I'm sure Ben has noticed too, that our groups are actually using queues, which is kind of a poor way of doing it. This has actually been changed to a full dial plan macro system. And this, we'll probably look at pushing this to the open source at some point. This feature is still a little bit early, so I'm still working out some more things with it. But this is definitely very useful for people who don't want that queue support, because the queue basically is not a natural version of this. So, and this interface has really not changed at all per se. There's still some issues with the front end. So this interface has not changed at all per se. This interface is still the same. It's just that the back end is completely different. It's actually a dial plan instead of a actual queue. So it can actually handle these three items here. So, and much of the other stuff hasn't changed. If you look at almost all these features are still the same. It's just that they're all redundant and reliable, so I won't really go into those. And here it's very similar. Let me actually show you the queue interface though. This is where we've made sort of a much more dramatic change, I would say. And this, what we've done is we've always noticed problems. Many of you have probably, I'm sure Ben has used the open source to maybe do some queuing, and it's really, really poor in terms of dealing with lots and lots of users and in terms of numbers. So we've completely changed that, and we now have a table. And this is basically a filtered table. And what I can do is that I can actually add members just by clicking a checkbox. And I can actually filter this table based on who are all my members. So if I just want to modify my members, I can just click a checkbox. If I want to just filter on people who are not members and just want to add more, I can filter there. And if I want to actually do a search, I can actually just do a search and filter this table. And so the idea is just to make this very easy to use. And then when I want to modify this guy, say I want to change his penalty, to say 2. I can do that very easily just by editing the inline items in the table. So this actually really helps. This was actually pushed, mainly motivated through mainly one of our own installs. And Vikram knows more about this in terms where he had to deal with a lot of users. And he basically, dealing with so many users, he ran into the limitations of the interface. It's very difficult. It was very difficult to search through. It's not sorted. So he ran into a lot of problems. So this basically was designed more to solve his issues on that front. So I can save this. Okay, and it shows up. And again, much of the other stuff hasn't changed too much. We don't, some of this stuff is, if it's fixed, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And so there are a few different back-end changes, optimizations. I think I mentioned that we actually manually create the parking lot now. So that allows us to put hints in the dial plan and allows you to subscribe using a phone with BLFs. So many options like that. Any questions so far? Okay. And this is, now we're probably getting into sort of some very new stuff here. We have call metrics, and Vikram actually has written this, so if you really want to know more about this, you can actually talk to Vikram after I talk, and he can answer more of your questions. But it's basically designed to give you a visualization of sort of what's going on in your system and what's going on with particular extensions. And it basically gives you a graph, and then below it gives you some information about the different nodes of calls and things like that. There isn't much data in this system because this is basically a demo system, but feel free, at some point, during one of the breaks, come up, test this out, actually give us more data so we can actually show you a better graph. And we also have some queue reports. So let me actually choose queue here. I'm going to generate a report. So from what little data we had, we actually managed to generate certain reports. We give you some graphs here about call status, and here's some service level information. percentage of the calls answered. So this is really mainly for our commercial users because especially call center deployments, they need these kinds of analytical information. Any kind of sales-focused organizations, they need these kinds of information to see how well they're serving their customers. And I mean, there are a couple of other interface improvements. We've changed the settings page. If many of you are used to our fax support, we had a fax setup page that was separate. That's actually been moved to within the context of this. So, and this is just a more optimal interface for most stuff. So, go to here, modem settings, and it's just a gigantic tree with. So here's your MySQL database if you're interested in logging that. So that's pretty much on the admin side what we have. Oh yeah. So Ben, this one's for you. You're wondering why? Yeah, this looks the same, right? No change. But I told you some of our configs are not stored in the on the file system. Guess what?
We pull it out and format it this way, so you can actually edit it just like you would using Y or you would text it.
So
when you save it, it goes back and so you don't lose that familiar config file.
So maybe you have some dial plans that you want to copy in, just paste them in, and then do it.
So the parse engine that you're using there will take it in.
Yeah. So what we've done is this: we've replaced our engine with something that just stores the files into a database. So
if you were to actually have SSH access to it, and you were to modify the config files, there command line tool that you could use to re-import it?
We don't have that. We don't have that just yet, but we'll be working on certain things. We've had ideas about that. Whether we could. Well, you will. You'll find files, but they'll be the original sample files that that you've known to love. So I mean, you can even. I mean, I can show you one. So, yeah. I mean, this is the original file, adsi.conf. Nothing since we don't really use this right now. But it's the same file that you see normally. You can see the comments and things like that. So, and there's some advanced license management for sort of our clients. This is not something I'll get into too much because this is very basic. It's basically a nice way of actually revoking your licenses. Since now we're going to have multiple licenses for different clients, this is basically a way to do that. And it's pretty much you just add a serial key and you just select the product that you want to add. So right now. Basically, what we do is we house the mobile and the integrated desktop here. Now going on this, let me show you one thing before I switch over to the user portal. Another thing that we allow people, because all our licenses are sort of limited, you can actually restrict access to the applications, the external applications. And if you want to actually modify your soft phone, you got your settings here. So any questions so far? I mean, Raj?
Are you charging separate license for the desktop plan?
What we do is this. We basically give a certain number free with the main server, and then we charge you for additional licenses typically. We can always work something out with you if you're kind of a nonprofit or any kind of organization where we can give you more free licenses and things like that. But typically we give about 5 free per copy of each of the different ones. Yeah, a lot of times what we do is we'll just give people free demos of everything. I mean, if it's free, when I say free demo, I mean like full license, no restricted license, just use it. And so the user portal, and this is where things change. And now I'm logging in with my username and password. So it's a little bit more like logging into any web interface. I log into my Gmail with username and password.